Hello and welcome to episode 8 of our RPG tutorials. Before we get started, if you guys can like and subscribe and do all those great things, it really does help me out. I try not to, get in you guys' way and all that, but if you take 2 seconds to do those things, it really helps push the videos and, we can expand and grow and keep this channel going. Today we are dealing with finishing off version 1 of our character screen. To do that, we are going to edit ArrowSelector so that we can handle shutting off the arrows when the time is correct to do so. It's going to involve a variable shut down right-hand arrows and left-hand arrows. We are going to create limits by adding the stats. We're going to make it like +5 for now, but you can do what you want. So you can assign 5 stats and exactly 5 stats. Then we're going to pass the hero, which is where we're going to store all the data, through the packet. So we're going to change the packet a little bit, but make sure it's passed through correctly. And then we are going to create the hero class, and we're going to hook it up into gameplay, and we are going to pass the hero in. It's not crazy stuff. It's going to take me a little while to get through this, so bear with me. But that'll give you guys kind of a start on how to go through and deal with your character screens. Obviously, you guys can add new art and do all your different things. You can have more than just this set of arrow selectors and so on and so forth to do the different things you guys need to do. We will do more with the character screen at a later date, but I kind of want to get through this so that we can get into kind of some of the meat and potatoes of the program. Next up will be dealing with getting your character locked to the grid, spawning a non-random grid, so it's probably something like 10 by 10 or something, and then locking the hero to the grid, and then hopefully movement will make it on that one. But I am going to try to keep these shorter than the last few have been, but there's not much I can do. These are just kind of longer. Alright, so first things first, we need to be able to lock down all of the arrows, not for this specific program, but we're going to do all of it at once, even though we're not going to use some of this stuff. We need to be able to lock down the right-hand arrows, so those would be like adding to a stat, and then also be able to lock down left-hand arrows. Now, in this case, we're not going to need to lock down left-hand arrows, but we want to be able to, and I don't really want to start this and not get all of that done at once. So first things first, let's add our variables. So we're going to have a bool, and 3 bools actually. We're going to have active, so that's the generic lock the whole thing down. We're going to have right active and left. Wow, that is some good AI right there. If you've noticed, I actually have turned off some of the stuff. I've left some of it on that I'm trying to get used to, and I think I like. At least I think I'm going to get used to it all. But the highlighting stuff, where it was just doing all kinds of crazy crap, I couldn't even see where I was highlighting. I don't like it, so I turned it off. I tried, but I'm an old fuddy-duddy, and I just couldn't handle it. I may not sound old, but I'm pushing 40 already. So anyway, all right. So we've done those. Let's set those variables to start with. Active by default needs to be true. All of them actually need to be true, not false. And then left active equals true. Actually got it right. Okay, so got that one wrong, got that one right. It's interesting. I'm really interested in what's going on with Visual Studios. If you can't tell, the new stuff they're putting in, I'm still getting used to. I've been doing a lot of business tools and a lot of work in Visual Studios 2019, but very little in 2022, and that's what this is in. So, I know. Side notes, I get distracted. I apologize. Okay, so we've got those in. Now, how are we going to use these? And then, but how are we going to use these to do what we want them to do? So first of all, we need to see if they're active, right? So that's like the overarching everything, right? Whoops. I'm not quite sure what just happened there. Just wait my mouse cursor out. No big deal. Oh, okay. So we have active, and then we have the else. Ooh, can't type. Okay. So in the active clause, great, or active, that's normal, right? True, normal. In the other case where it's not active, we want to say buttons 0, because we only have 2 buttons, but in this case we know that the left button is 0 and the right button is 1. So dot active equals false, and buttons 1 dot active equals false. These again are not going to be used, so understand we're not hitting these things. Oh, we don't have those yet. Okay, buttons are in here, here, and then here. Let me make sure that I'm doing this right. Basic 2D, buttons 2D. I think I just locked everything out. Yep, that's all we're doing. So we're adding active in here. In button 2D, so we have active, and then down in our constructor we have to say active equals true, and then we have to say we would just wrap everything in active. So if everything except for the base stuff, because we want to be able, if we had tooltips, which tooltips go all the way down to basic 2D, we would want to be able to have that out there. So yeah, all right. So and then active ACTIV, okay, and then we're gonna have obviously our work here, and so if not pressed and not active, ACTIV, okay, so we have a grayed out. So we gray out our button here. We just added that to the pressed thing, so we use this gray color, and then we lock out any of the update. So we make it visually change to gray, and we lock out the update. That is what we're looking for our button. Sweet. Happy days. Save that. Now we come to our ArrowSelector, and we need to say, okay, first of all, do we have buttons? Could have put that down here too. Probably should. So here, if buttons dot count greater than 0, and we're just basically saying, did the buttons get set, which we know they're there. This could be greater than 1 if you wanted to. I'm going to leave it like this because I like it this way. This is how I'm used to looking for it. But you could be more specific and say it needs to be greater than 1. My goal is, hey, did I initialize things properly? Because sometimes I'm going to move these into like an initialize function that doesn't always get called. So just, I need to know that they were initialized at all. That's what these are for. You can test for them the way you feel like it. But an ArrowSelector, I probably will never have more than 2 buttons, but you know, it's getting into the habit of how do I handle checking to things, see things are initialized. This is one of my preferred ways. Okay, so in here we're going to say these are active, right? So why are we telling them that they're active? Well, because they're already active, Chris. Why would you need to do that? It's actually very simple. RUE, boy, I can't type. And then fix my. Okay. Well, let's say it ran into here because they were inactive and I deactivated them. Well, if I reactivated the button, it's going to come in here and I need to tell them they're back to true. So that's why we do that. Okay. Now we're going to deal with our right and left select. So here we are. We're going to say if selected equals 0. So this deals with we are at our lowest possible value in our array of arrow selecting or our list of options, right? We don't want to be able to select left anymore in that case. And then so we're going to say, you know, this right here, button 0, active false. The other time that we want to do this is we want to do it when the not left active. So left active is false. So now we no longer can use our left arrow. It is now active false. That's what we want. Okay. Next, how do we do with our right-hand scenario? So if we're going to use the same idea, so we have to test selected and we have to test what? Right active. So first we're going to test selective, but instead of selective 0, it's going to be selected greater than or equal to options.count or not right active. Okay, and then we're going to grab this guy here and we're going to put it in. So what did we do there? We said if we're at the very end, so selected greater than or equal to options count. I don't know that's quite. Oh, -1. That's why I'm like that doesn't sound right. -1. So let's say there's 5 things, 5 options. Well, 0 through 4 are really our spots, so it needs to be -1. So count would be 5, -1 is 4. So if it's greater than or equal to 4, then we can't do it. Okay, this locks out our buttons, which is great. And I need to fix a bug. So not a bug. This has slightly unintended consequences. So we want to remove this because we are going to assume that our buttons is where we put them up in here. We don't want them to be different. We want to remove that. So that is, again, it's not a bug. It's potential for unintended consequences. And then there's nothing else that we need to do down here because our locking of the buttons is what we need to do. So we've done that. So ArrowSelector now has become more powerful. We can essentially error check the values without having to add new code outside of ArrowSelector, which is what you want. So that's great. We build, make sure that we're good. It's a habit that I like to have. You should have a habit of building regularly. If you're going more than, say, 10, 15 minutes without building on a small project, that's probably bad. In a large project, builds start taking a long time, so okay, yeah, you're not going to build all the time. But on a small project, you need to have in the habit of building because it tells you if you've made a mistake, and you don't want to proliferate that mistake further down the line. Okay, so now we've dealt with that, and we need to go to our character screen. And we need to set some variables so that we can test for them in our ArrowSelector. So the first things that we're going to do is we're going to create some variables that allow us to control the stats. So we need to know how many total stats we can have. We need to know how many stats are left. And we need to know how many stat additions we're going to allow. So all of those are ints. Public int, so stats left, stat max, and stat additions. Okay, so what are these? Stats left is how many stats we have left to spend. Max stat is how many maximum stats we're going to allow to be applied. So as you know from last one, we have 20 stats on both mage and warrior. We're going to allow there to be 5 more than that, and then stat additions is that 5. Can you do this with the two variables? You could. The math just gets a lot easier if you go here to the third. And since we would prefer to do easier math, we're not going to fight with getting the other stat dealt with. It's just a lot prettier coding. So stats left, stats. Stars. That was a mistake. Stats. I like to see them show up because it shows me that I didn't screw up. So stats left, we're going to start with 0 for right now. That's a fill-in a minute. Stat additions equals 5. And then we're going to say, we're going to see stat max equals 25. Okay. When we come to, we also have to apply all the different numbers. So what we did, how do I explain all of this? What this does is it sets just the number, right? But we need multiple numbers. We need at least 5, right? Because we have our stat additions. We need at least 5 numbers. So if you start at 1, we need 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 available, right? Because we know that we can apply 6 we can apply 5 stats, which 1 plus 5 is 6, to that individual variable. That we're not going to get 5 of all of them, but maximum 5. So we need to have options available for all of those different options for each different stat. So each stat needs its starting point and then 5 more options. So how do we do that? Well, first of all, that sounds like a for loop to me. And then what we need to do is we need to say, okay, for what? Well, int I equals 0, I less than stat additions plus 1, because, you know, starting at 0, and then it needs to be less than, so we need to get 5 more. And we are going to start at the start. So we need 6 total. I plus plus. Okay, so in here, what are we doing? Well, we are going to add some parentheses because we have to add some numbers and then play plus I. So this is a number, right? This is strength 1 or whatever, strength a number, and then plus I is 0, so the first one is going to be the actual number. And then we're going to go 5 more, so this will continue to tick it up. And then we need to have the same exact thing over here. Okay. All right. Now, I'm not going to type that, all these parentheses over and over again. This is actually, when I was doing this is when I got really frustrated with the hover stuff that was happening. And this is actually why I switched it out. Because I just could not see my cursor, and that's very frustrating. So these all now say strength. We need to copy those over to these in their respective order. Okay, and then now we take what's here and we put it here. Take what's here. Takes a second, but this will give us all of the abilities that we need. Could you do this a different way? Of course you could. There's probably a dozen ways to do what I'm doing here. This way requires the least amount of time for me to program it, and gave us a decently powerful ArrowSelector. We continue to upgrade that, and it's getting kind of nice. So, okay, that will handle displaying all of the different stats. What we don't have handled here now is the deciding when to lock things. When do we make things inactive? And for this one, if you haven't guessed, we're really only, and I think I said it earlier, we're only really handling right arrow, because that's just what it is. We only need to lock out the addition, unless it's minned out, and then we need to lock out the maximum, the minimum. But that already is handled by this, right? So that already handles our minimum. We don't have to worry about that. So in this case, for new character screen, we are just handling right active. Right active equals true. So every frame we're going to set it to true. Do you have to do that? No. Is there better ways to do that? This is way faster, and the other way saves almost no processing. So is it better? Oh, you choose. But I'm not here to argue with you about how you want to program on that kind of stuff. All right, so we set them all to active, and then if what? So if stats left less than or equal to 0, it better not be less than then, but just to make sure that, in some kind of bug case scenario that we accommodate for that, we're going to use less than or equal to FALSE FALSE. Okay, that's all fine and dandy. Okay, so this should lock things out when stats left is less than 0. Well, how many stats left do we have? Well, this is where we have to decide what that means. Well, stats left equals stat max minus what? Well, the total number of stats. Well, we probably don't want to put that in here. We probably want to make a function for that. So maybe get, let's say, public virtual void. No, sorry, not virtual void. Virtual int get total stats. All right. So in get total stats, what we want is we want to know how many stats are currently in the stat pack, right? So int total 0 and then return total. Okay, that's great, fine and dandy and everything, but what is total? So total plus equals and then globals dot convert to int. Why? Because the things are actually objects. Strength selector dot get current option dot value. Okay, so that is 1. We have 6 of these, so it's going to be plus, and let's get all of that. So that's the second one, third one, fourth one, fifth one, sixth one. Happy days. Okay, let's grab those. So the first one's about the strength selector, the second one's about the stamina selector, the third one's about the agility selector, the fourth one's about the dexterity selector, fifth one's about the int selector, int, and then the last one's about the spirit selector, SPI. I guess not. I thought it was SPI. Don't like that. Oh, it doesn't like that because we need to do this. Get total stats. Okay, let's see how that does. This one's not happy because we didn't put a semicolon, and this one is either typed wrong or something. Of course, the one that I didn't copy paste is wrong. Oh, I totally spelled it wrong. That's why. All right, whatever. No big deal. I'm not gonna go back and fix that. You guys want to fix it? Fix it. It's just anyway. I forgot the C right there. Whatever. All right, there we are. So this is gonna set our total number of stats spent, or total number of stats, and then this will decide whether the arrows are on or off. All right, let's test it with all the stuff we've done. See where we're at. Okay, we're gonna hit play. All right, we have those go back and forth, right? And if I push this last one, it should lock everything. It did. If I remove one, it should open everything, lock everything, open everything, stay open, lock that. Everything seems to be working correctly there. So what just happened? Well, I just switched to mage, and it kept the spent stats. That's no good, right? We don't want that. We want to reset it so you're back to 5 stats. Or at least I think you want to reset it. Otherwise, it's a little confusing. And you might be a little upset that you put your strength in your mage and then you forgot to switch it. And that's bad news. So a couple things have to happen. We have change stat, change skin. And start game. Where do we need to do it? So when we change class, I think is when we need to do it. So when we change class, we need to reset. So currently we're clearing options. That's not a bad thing. But I think we want to create, we definitely want to create a function to handle that. So we have probably go like reset options. So public override, and the reason void reset options. The reason we want a class to do this is because we're all of a sudden we're going to be doing 2 things at a time here. So before we out here, we're just setting it to clear the options, which we are going to do. We're going to say options ptlns equals new options. It's the same thing as clearing, but it's slightly different. and there may be a time in which you need both sets. So we're going to clear, or we're going to set to new instead of clearing. It's a slightly different change in all, for 99% of the time it's exactly the same. It's slightly more expensive, but it allows us to hold those options somewhere else without clearing them. So we're going to do that. And then we're going to change selected, which is our issue here, equal to 0 again. So our selected was staying the same, and then we were inputting 5 more, and then it was on the third one, so it jumped to the third one. That's what was happening there. So we're going to do that, and then we're going to come in here, and we're going to say reset options. And then we'll put this in. All right, that should handle that. Oops, we'll hit that. Okay, we'll say, all right, let's test it, because, you know, it's important to make sure we have it right. So we come over here. We're on Warrior. We're going to dump 5 in there, and we switch to Mage, and it reset it. And then, great. So we're going to drop this down and put a little bit of text up there so that we can see how much we are dealing with, how many stats we have left to handle or to apply, whatever you want to. I mean, English, you know, you'd think I'm good at it, but I'm not. We're going to drop all these down 40. So just putting in our numbers, 600, 660, and 720. So we dropped that down so we created a little bit more space. And then the last thing we're going to do is we are going to draw some text. And so if we draw text in ArrowSelector, let's grab all of this. Now, we need to do this to reset our shader. If you need to understand more about that, please go watch the earlier tutorials on it. I go over it pretty well, I think, to where a lot of people are able to understand it. So, and then we need to grab our drawstring, whichever one you want. I think I like this one a little bit more. I think it fits our purposes slightly better. And so we don't have font. Whoops. ArrowSelector font. We have to go into here. Go to definition. Sprite font. We're just going to put that in new character screen. Yeah, right here. And then if we go into here. No, it's here. Okay. Let's see. Where can I get that from? It's got to be in here, no. What did I do? Font. Oh, it's further down. I'm just being dumb. Here it is. I'm looking at this one going, why is that in string format? I know this is supposed to be in the actual font format. Okay, no problem. Okay, so font equals, there we go. Easy peasy. I just don't like to try to type it. Anytime you can copy paste, it's better. Okay, we've got our font now, so that should fix our issue down here. The title probably should be something like about attributes, so I'm gonna go with attributes left. Attributes left, colon, space, and then how many do we have left? Well, we already have a variable for that. That's stats left. Happy days. Where are we displaying this? Well, we're kind of displaying it right above this stuff. So if we just grab this guy, come on down, highlight the entire position piece, and then say, okay, well, we need to come backwards a little bit, and we need to go up a little bit. So like 3, 6. Let's see how this works. See how that goes. That should give us a label on it. Is this the prettiest thing that's ever, you know, been made? Of course not. That's not the point. All right, and you can see how it goes. And there we go. So that gives us at least some visual on how many attributes we have left. You can go into how you want all this to be and make it super nice and all that kind of stuff if you'd like. Okay, so we have our attributes applicable. Now we need, when we submit them, we need to stuff those into our hero, and then we send our hero through the packet. So let's go through and do that. Okay, I'm bound and determined to get through this today. I think 3 episodes on the base of a character screen is plenty enough. Okay, so we want to go to where we start the game, which is right here. So first of all, our packet takes in different things. We're going to edit this. I originally thought I was going to create the hero somewhere else and we'd pass the stat pack in here, but then I was like, you know, I don't think I like that anymore. I think I'd prefer to do hero here. So let's do hero, and then instead of these 2 things, we're just going to pass in hero. And then again, instead of these 2 things, we're going to say hero equals hero. Okay. That should take care of that. We come in here, and instead of these guys, and we know we have these, so we still need to set the skin, so let's just copy these out. This is how I do if I want to remember, so I can copy paste. I just put them in a comment real fast. And then we pass in hero, which we already have. Now, in hero, what we need to do is we need to set the stat pack, and we need to set the skin. So first, we're going to say create the stat pack, and then we're going to say assign hero values like model and stats etc. In fact, right now that's all we have, but any of them can go there. Okay, so how are we going to do that? Well, first we're going to create a stat pack. So stat pack stats equals new stat pack. Now, could you be assigning to the original stat pack? Of course you could. I like this. So stat packs set stat value, which we've used before in hero class. Shouldn't be hard to figure out what stat. Well, this one's going to be strength. GTH, and we probably should be copy pasting because I'm both dyslexic and terrible at typing. So we have strength, and then what is the value that we're going to put in the stat pack? Well, first of all, we got to convert it to an int because, you know, the format that we have it in is not in an int. Convert to int, and then inside here we're going to say strength selector dot get current option dot value. Boom. Okay, that's it. That's assigning strength to our stat pack. Because we made our stat packs so flexible, I think is the word I'm going to use. We can do single lines to both create them and assign the values that we want. Now we're going to do these copy pasters in the correct spots, of course. Okay, that's our stat pack. So here we're going to say hero.stats equals stats. Oh, no, that's not what I want. Stats. Happy days. Okay, and then to select the model, we're going to say hero.set. We have to edit our basic 2D. Basic 2D doesn't have set model yet. This is a kind of a nice thing to have, so you can just change out your model real fast. What is set model? It's these 2 things right here. So we're going to get rid of it. Not get rid of it, but add it in here as a function. Public virtual void set model, and then we need to have this string, string model string, and then here we're going to have model string, and then model string will be placed in there. That's good. So then we need to say right here set model and then path. that will allow us to change the model at a moment's notice and make sure that we're running through a function that will do all the things needed to set the model, like setting the model string, which we're about to use. That's kind of important. Okay, dot set model. And what is the model that we're setting? Well, remember how we took these here? We already know the class. We already have the class set, but what we need is this right here. So these are our options. But instead of value is much less important in this case than image dot model string. So basically, the model string that you see in the arrow selector is the image we want to see on our character. So that's what we're grabbing, and we're going to set it to the model. We're going to put hero in. We're going to pass it in. So we're passing that into gameplay. Gameplay will, in change state, we have to make a few it's minor changes. So here we are setting our packet, which is great, and then we switch. We set the state, and then here we're going to say if what? Well, if state equals 1, and then let me make sure actually that our screen here on submit classes skins start game is 1. Perfect. So if state is 1, and that's what we're sending through, then we need to create level, so we'll do that, and then we need to input level, which we haven't done either one of those things. So okay, this is the last step for this episode. I know it's a long episode, I'm sorry, but it's going to get us to the point where we can get started on our actual level next time. Okay, inside gameplay, we are going to put level. So gameplay, right click, add new item. I'm going to call it level. Cool. And level, of course, needs our handy dandy includes. And we want to change out its namespace so we have access to it. And we need to make it public. And we need to give it a constructor. So public level. There's our handy dandy constructor. We need to have an update and a draw. Public virtual void update. We don't need anything passed in there, so public virtual void. Wow. Can you believe that crap? Smart. And then the last thing we need to do for this for this purpose is we need to be able to set our hero. So public virtual void set hero. Whoops. And then hero. And then we need to hold a hero, and we're definitely going to need ID at some point. Int ID, and we need public hero, and then here we're going to say ID equals 0 for now. And then in here we're going to say hero equals hero. Okay. Sweet. That is our level. Let me build real fast just to make sure that everything we've done is still on track. We have a failure. That's why we want to check. We are missing a print. Got it. Okay. So let's go back to gameplay, and we're going to declare a level in here. So this is just public level. In this case, we are going to declare our level when we create the game. So the reason for this is that you may be picking a different type of game. Like if you have different possible scenarios, then you don't know which one you're doing yet. So we do it this way in order to accommodate for that kind of stuff. You may say, well, that'll never happen. Man, you'd be surprised what you decide to do after you start a game, or what your players, your users decide that they want, and that you decide, yeah, you know, maybe you're right. So, and then we're gonna say level dot set hero, and then in here we have temp packet hero. Remember, temp packet's here. If we put hero in it, it goes in there. Here we now need to say if, or else if state equals 1. And then we have level dot update, and then we copy paste that down here, and we have level dot draw. Okay, so we can select our attributes. I'm going to build this while we go. And we can select our attributes, and we can pass our hero all the way in to the point where the level knows what the hero is. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We're going to go like that, and then we're going to hit start game. And that is exactly what we would expect. And then so inside level, we should be seeing update. So it is hitting update. And if we look at hero, we have a square, which I believe is correct. We have stats. Then I don't remember what we set them to, but that's 1 more than the normal strength. That's 1 more than the normal stamina, so on and so forth. Or maybe 2 more than the normal stamina. And that's, well, that's 2 more than the normal agility. So I think that's what we did. I'm not 100% sure. But we now have our hero in level, and level is both updating and drawing. Let me just double check, but I'm pretty sure. Yep, level is both updating and drawing. And that gives us our wonderful blue screen because we have nothing in level, which is where we're going to leave off tomorrow. All right, look, if you made it this far and you haven't hit the like button, clearly you like what we did here, or what I did here, and I would really appreciate it if you hit the like button. If you haven't subscribed and you've seen more than one of my videos, I would really appreciate it if you do subscribe, because that way you can continue to see when new stuff comes out, and we can keep pushing through on this together. If not, no hard feelings, but it really would help me out, and it would help you to find when I put new stuff out. Lastly, comments are huge, right? The YouTube algorithm loves them. I love them. Right now I'm responding to absolutely every single comment that's coming in, and I'm going to continue to try to do that. And then also Discord, guys. If you have questions over there, you have a long form question, you want more than just to, you know, give a basic comment, I'm over there. Come over, say hi. I literally run my other office, my personal office, my business tools office, through that Discord. And so I see pretty much everything that's posted within, you know, let's say 20 or 30 minutes. I'm not always paying perfect attention. Sometimes I see it right away. Other times it's going to be, you know, a few minutes, but not too bad. But anyway, guys, that's it for today. We are now set up to really kind of get into the gameplay, and I'm excited about that. We're going to be using a lot of the code from our previous tutorial. So feel free, tutorial system, not just individual tutorial, not from tutorial 7 here, but rather from our top-down shooter series, even though we never actually made a top-down shooter. That's what it's called. Yeah, looking forward to it. Hope you guys are looking forward to it. Let me know if you have anything specific you want me to cover. I'm happy to try to work in things as they fit in a natural way into the tutorials, but if you don't tell me you want them, then I don't know you want them. So yeah, have a great night, guys. I will talk to you next time.